afternoon, everyone. I welcome all the participants and our resource person, Honorable Dr. S.V. Chaudhary, sir, to the third session of day 4 of our AICT IST sponsor online induction refresher program on innovation in concrete technology. I would like to introduce our today's resource person, Honorable Dr. S.V. Chaudhary, sir. Sir, as working as Associate Professor in Thakur College of Engineering and Technology, Kandivali, Mumbai. Sir completed PhD Technology in Civil at Vizitia, Mumbai 2017. Sir had 4 years field experience as structural consultant. Sir designed many residential and commercial buildings. Sir had published more than 15 publications in different national and international journals and conference with more than 120 citations. So let us begin our today's session on concrete for the future. I would like to request sir to start the session.
Good afternoon all. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So for today's session, that is concrete for future. Give me the sharing option.
Yes, sir.
Okay, concrete for future. Here we will discuss some of the upcoming types of concrete, starting with history of concrete. The flow will be somewhat like this: history, then glorious achievement, some of them. It's not possible to cover all of them. Suddenly, why the hero became villain, the need for alternatives, the efforts taken all over, our contribution and the conclusion. So regarding history of concrete, we all, being a civil engineer and dealing with concrete on everyday basis, we know almost everything about concrete. But sometimes it is required to refresh. So let us go back to 6500 BC. In UAE, the earliest recording of concrete structure, Nabateya traders in region of Syria and Jordan, they have created floors, housing structures and underground storages using concrete. Then in 3000 BC, Egypt and China, Egyptians used mud mixed with straw to bind dried bricks. They also used gypsum mortar and mortars of lime in the pyramids. The Great Pyramids at Giza used about 500,000 tons of mortar. A form of cement was also used to build the Great Wall of China around this very time. Further in 600 BC, now we are coming towards present day. In 600 BC, Rome, although the ancient Romans weren't the first to create concrete, they were first to utilize this material widespread. By 200 BC, Romans successfully implemented the use of concrete in the majority of their construction. They used a mixture of volcanic ash, lime, and seawater to form the mix. They then packed the mix into wooden forms and once hardened, stacked the blocks like brick. After more than 2000 years, Roman concrete structure stand tall due to their ingredients colliding with Earth's natural chemistry. Technological milestones. During the Middle Age, concrete technology crept backward. After the fall of Roman Empire in 476 AD, the technique for making pozzolana cement was lost until the discovery of manuscripts describing it was found in 1414. This rekindled interest in building with concrete. In 1824, we all know this, Joseph Aspdin invented Portland cement by burning finely ground chalk and clay until the carbon dioxide was removed. Aspdin named the cement after the high quality building stones quarried in Portland, England. He has given this Portland cement, we know it as Portland cement because it was first made by using the quarry in Portland. In 19th century, concrete was used mainly for industrial buildings. The first widespread use of Portland cement in home construction was in England and France between 1850 and 1880 by Francois Coignet, who added steel rods to prevent exterior walls from spreading. Now, if you see the timeline, then in 1830, the lime and hydraulic cement is produced for the first time in Canada. This was produced on commercial basis. This was first time produced on commercial basis. Then in 1849, reinforced concrete was invented by Joseph Moynier. This is Joseph Moynier who invented reinforced concrete. The first home was constructed using reinforced concrete was built in England by William Wilkinson. That was in 1854. In 1889, the first reinforced concrete bridge was built. This was that, rather I should say, this is that bridge. Right now also it is existing. In 1891, George Bartholomew poured the first concrete street in the United States, and still it exists today. This is that street with some repair work, but still it is, the street is existing. In 1902, Auguste Perret designed and built an apartment building in Paris using steel reinforced concrete. The first concrete high-rise building, known Ingalls Building, was constructed in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is that building. It is 16-story building, and that was constructed in 1904. Then first ready-mix load was delivered in Baltimore, Maryland. That was in 1913. And in 1930, air entraining agents were developed. They greatly increased concrete's resistance to freezing and improved its workability. It was according to their climate conditions, because in those countries, the climate is very cold. In 1936, first large concrete dams built. One of them is Hoover Dam. This is that dam. And another one is Grand Coulee Dam. Both of these dams were constructed for generation of electricity. Then in 1909, Assembly Hall was first concrete dome support structure that was built. In 1970, fiber reinforced concrete was introduced. Then in 1985, Union Plaza in Seattle, Washington was constructed using high strength concrete. Now, there were some inventions are coming up with highest strength concrete. Then new height record was set by 311 South Wacker Drive in Chicago. This is almost 67-story building. And in 1999, polished concrete is introduced to the United States by HTC. Then in 2000, LEED is launched by United States Green Building Council. And in 2003, a Soleil is the first green residential high-rise building in United States. This building is fulfilling almost all the standards laid by LEED as well as Green Council in United States, and that is having the pride of being first green building. Then in 2004, creators had special fiber created by Hungarian architect Aaron Losonzi that transmit light in concrete to create translucent concrete. Then in 2010, Giatec is established and starts offering IoT solutions to the concrete industry. The world's first fully functional 3D printing building, the Office of the Future in Dubai, which is this. It was completely created by using 3D printers. And that is why it has a honor of being called as first 3D printed building. Excuse me, 1 minute. Sorry for interruption. Okay. Now, cement concrete in India. India entered into cement era in 1914 when the Indian Cement Company Limited started manufacturing cement in Porbandar in Gujarat. However, before that also there was one factory which was in Madras in 1904 by the company named South India Industrial Limited, but it was a small cement factory. At that time, India had to import the cement from England. That was known to us. The price of imported cement was higher, and there are some factors which was domestic demand, reduction in supply due to war, availability of Indian capital, ample raw material, cheap labor, support of government, etc., made it a leading industry in India in a short period of time. In 1948, government adopted the cement expansion scheme, which envisages new factories for increase the production. New factories were established at Bagalkot, Jaipur, Orissa, Travancore, etc. In 1950-51, there were 22 operating units with an installed capacity of 3.3 million tons. Cement industry was given a great importance in all the initial 5-year plans. The target of first 5-year plan was to raise the installed capacity to 5.4 million tons, which was achieved. The industry has grown then in many fold. Now, this hero of our construction industry have suddenly become villain. Yeah, please mute yourself.
Participants are to kindly mute their microphone. Participants are requested to kindly mute their microphone. Ganesh sir. Ganesh sir. Ganesh sir. Ganesh sir. Please mute yourself.
Okay, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Manufacturing the stone-like building material is responsible for 7% of global carbon dioxide emissions, which is more than what comes from all the trucks in the world. Can we imagine this quantum? So if we stop producing this cement, that is one commodity which will reduce 7% global carbon dioxide. But it is not possible. As per the survey conducted by cement industry in India, cement production reached 329 million tons in financial year 2020 and is projected to reach 381 metric ton by 2022. However, the consumption stood at 327 metric ton in 20 and will reach 379 metric ton by 22. The cement production capacity is estimated to touch 550 metric ton. So this is a much escalation of cement production. In future, tremendous CO2 emission will be noticeable. So minimizing the carbon footprint has become a priority in every industry to slow down global warming and climate change effects. The very recent example of this global warming and climate change effect is what we have seen in Uttarakhand, right? A few days before in Chamoli district. That is again revolving around this only, global warming and climate change. So now, who is responsible? So it is always what we say, an error is human and blame it on somebody else is even more human. Is that way we should think? So who is responsible? The obvious answer is we. We are responsible for this. Why we are responsible? Increasing grid. Almost all of we are having more than one houses. I think everybody will agree with this. One is at our working place and one is at our native, and maybe one is as a weekend home, and all these homes are being constructed using concrete only. So that is what our grid is increasing. Another one, increasing urbanization. We are leaving the villages behind and rushing towards the cities. And again, we are constructing and creating cement jungle only. So the efforts taken all over. What are those efforts, and who are those who have taken these efforts? The challenges that face our built environment seem to be increasing, as are the demands we make of our buildings and infrastructure. It is increasing day by day. We need robustness, solidity to feel safe and secure. We must build in flexibility to climate change and be able to deal with overheating, flooding, storms, all in an increasingly urban environment where high density housing can make worse some of these issues. So these issues, as we are going towards urban, these issues are increasing only instead of getting decreased. We must ensure solutions are low carbon, material efficient, and without compromising quality and performance standards such as fire safety and non-combustibility. So few innovations in concrete. That first one we can say self-healing concrete, then 3D printed concrete. There may be eco-friendly concrete, then pervious concrete, then Martian concrete, then living concrete, then use of graphene in concrete, then polymer concrete. Self-healing concrete, if we take one by one, so no matter how carefully it is mixed or reinforced, all concrete eventually cracks, and those cracks can lead to collapses. That is why scientists at Delft University of Technology invented bioconcrete, a concrete that uses bacteria to heal itself. The bacteria generate crystals that enclose their cells, and when mixed with other secretions like protein and sugar, they generate a glue-like substance. If the concrete cracks, the bacteria seal any gaps by forming either limestone or calcite. It is still in the research and trial phases, but the market for self-healing concrete has already been forecasted to reach 1,375 billion globally by 2025. So it is not at finally, the final product is not at came in the market. And personally, I know one of the experiment which was being done by my fellow research colleague at VJTI, but somehow it couldn't work out. And again, there are so many factors in self-healing concrete that it is very difficult to, not impossible, but it is very difficult to bring it on surface, because there are so many factors involved in. Suppose one beam we are constructing with this self-healing concrete. What is the life expectancy of this bacteria? They are not immortal, first thing. Second thing, if we put it in conduit and provide some environment for them to remain live, then they may increase in the size, that they themselves will create another problem. So likewise, there are so many problems if you put it on paper and then think of one by one on this. So it seems difficult to bring this type of concrete in vicinity, but still the people are working hard. So we wish one day we will get this, because it will reduce the repairing and what we say, rehabilitation cost. Now 3D printer concrete. So in recent developments in 3D printing have showcased an untapped potential to build affordable communities. Today 3D printed concrete can be used to quickly produce homes for the displaced or homeless, and the technology can often handle geometries that traditional construction technique can't. 3D printing concrete also gives builder more creative freedom. Projects ranging from backyard castle to a house built in just 24 hours have already been constructed using the technology. Now there is one clip I have inserted in the presentation. It is a very small clip. We will So this was clip showing 3D printer. By using 3D printing, we can make use of locally available material, and we can come up with economical, eco-friendly housing system. That is also possible. Now, eco-friendly concrete. So traditional concrete is not an environment-friendly material to make or use. However, scientists at London-based Novasim claim to have developed a new, more eco-friendly form of concrete using magnesium sulfate, which requires much less heating than typical concrete components. While concrete usually generates a large amount of carbon, Novasim claims that their concrete actually absorbs CO2 as it hardens. So it exactly is the reverse procedure. So it will absorb CO2 from the surrounding environment. This development could have the huge impact once it hits the market. Again, it is like self-healing concrete. So let us wait for this. This will come in market, but this is more likely to come than that self-healing concrete, according to what we have read about. And this will be again welcomed more because it will reduce the carbon footprint. So we may see this kind of picture in a very near future. On concrete, we will be able to grow vegetation. Then pervious concrete, another eco-friendly concrete solution gaining traction within the construction industry, that is pervious concrete. So traditionally, concrete is impervious, meaning water runs off it, requiring architects to direct its flow in a focused way. So you are supposed to take care of the slope of the floor, and if it is on the ground, then slope, otherwise there will be flooding. So design flows and unanticipated weather patterns have unfortunately led to many cases of urban flooding, erosion, pollution, and other serious ecological issues. Sometimes called porous pavement, pervious concrete is made of large particles than traditional concrete. The large particles create voids within the concrete that allows for the gradual infiltration of rainwater into the ground below, providing a safer and more environment-friendly alternative. This pervious concrete, in our institute, we have one of our team have done experiment with this, and the team could create the pervious concrete very easily, and it has much more benefits, not exactly for the construction of slab, but it is very, very useful for construction of pavements and other kind of structures where the water should enter into the concrete and come out from other side, so that there will be no flooding. And that experiment was very successful. So pervious concrete is one of the concrete we will be using in very near future. Then Martian concrete, because now we are talking about Mars, and we will in very near future we may go to Mars. In our generation, I don't think, but the next generation definitely will go to Mars. Though it sounds like the stuff of science fiction, this concrete is real, and it may even be the best building material in the solar system. In response to scientific interest in building on Mars, a research team at Northwestern University created a form of concrete that can be made with material native to the red planet. The team tackled the challenge of limited water by turning instead to sulfur. It is readily accessible on Mars, and when heated to 240 degrees Celsius, it melts into liquid at twice the strength of traditional concrete. Their creation is also durable enough to withstand meteorite impacts, a key element needed to create viable shelters for humans. So this by using sulfur at 240 degrees, we will be discussing this further uh, in this very presentation. So then living concrete. The living concrete developed by Bartlett School of Architecture, described as an architectural bark, it can host species such as algae, mosses, and lichens to create more sustainable green walls that require no maintenance and potentially absorb pollution and noise in cities. In 2018, 8 prototype panels were installed at St. Anne's RC Primary School in London. So we all know this algae and all these things, mosses and lichen, if you find them in dry condition, but they become dry, they do not die. The moment it comes in contact with water, again it will grow. So this is living concrete. On these walls, actually this vegetation will live. Then graphene, a game changer in making building with concrete greener. This is very interesting. Form of carbon incorporated into concrete created stronger, more water resistant composite material that could reduce emissions. Graphene is a one atom thick honeycomb of carbon atoms with world beating mechanical, thermal, optical, and electrical properties. It has already been used for flexible electronics, energy storage, nano composites, sensors, liquid filtration, and thermal management. The use of graphene is for all these things is known to us. We are using it, but now it is included in concrete. So graphene has been incorporated into traditional concrete production by scientists at the University of Exeter, developing a composite material which is more than twice as strong and 4 times more water resistant than existing concrete. They demonstrated an extraordinary increase of up to 146% in compressive strength, up to 79.5% flexural strength, and a decrease in the maximum displacement due to compressive loading by 78%. At the same time, they found an enhanced electrical and thermal performance with an 88% increase in heat capacity. So from all perspective of the concrete, this make use of graphene is satisfying our requirement, and the composite could be used directly on building sites, enabling the construction of strong and durable building using less concrete and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. Using graphene means the researchers were able to roughly half the amount of material used to make concrete. That means if we start using graphene, then we may bring down that carbon emission from 7% to 3.5% roughly. Even if we can reduce 3% globally, it is a great achievement. Now to summarize, it is clear that there are numerous potential futures for concrete to continue as a material of choice in the design and construction industry. Having shaped our cities for centuries and facilitating rapid expansion and new heights, it is now time to consider how materials such as concrete can continue to support innovation by being the subject of innovation themselves. The challenge for architects will be to ensure that such innovative solutions with the potential to fundamentally change how we do or do not use concrete begins to become accepted in a traditionally conservative industry. Otherwise, it is clear that the environmental impact of concrete in its current composition will see the material overtaken by its green competitors. Now, in this regard, what is our contribution? The recycling of building debris that we can do. We used microsilica, then Martian concrete is one of them, and polymer concrete. Here we will discuss the first three. So recycling of building debris, there are so many experiments already being done. A lot of work has already been done by the researchers, right? So many, almost, if you take out some selected projects from selected institute, you will find this recycling of building material is one of the projects that some of the students have taken up, but that is okay. Results are amazing in many cases because we have done this thing in our laboratory also. So I can say that results are very good, but with the lack of continuous supply of raw material, that is again quality building debris, this can be considered as supportive measure but not a fully sustainable solution. We cannot consider this recycling of building debris sustainable solution. It is a supportive, we can say, because you will have to wait for some building will get you will get some building in reconstruction, and then you can use the debris from that building. That kind of waiting period will be there. Then if there is no building within vicinity which is coming up, and some building is going for renovation or reconstruction, then again you will have a question where to throw those debris or to transport it in the next, suppose next city, that transportation cost will also increase, right? So this cannot be considered as the sustainable solution, but definitely it is a supportive solution. Then use of microsilica. The microsilica is a byproduct formed in electric reduction furnaces during the production of ferrosilicon and silicon. SiO2 is reduced with a carbon reducing agent to give ferrosilicon or silicon. In the reaction zone, gaseous SiO is formed as an intermediate product. As gas moves upward, a part of it is condensed in the cooler placed above the reaction zone. The gas which escapes is transformed into amorphous SiO2, that is in liquid form, by quickly cooling and oxidizing it with air which is supplied to the furnace. Now with the help of filters, the particulate SiO2 is taken out of the furnace in the off gas. The microsilica obtained in this way is generally spherical in shape and the size varies between 0.02 to 0.05 microns. Now, what are the benefits of microsilica? It significantly increases the durability of concrete. Microsilica reduces the permeability, increases ultimate strength gain, beneficial in all types of high strength concrete, improves bond strength to steel, improves freeze and thaw durability of concrete, provides excellent resistance to sulfate or seawater attack, reduces the corrosion of steel, significantly reduces alkali silica reactivity. So against those benefits, this is the property of microsilica, that it is taken percent by weight. So if SiO2 is 86 and 90% by weight, then which contains 0.1 to 0.4 SiC and all these compounds in this very proportion. And then we have conducted some experiments, and these are the results for tube test performed. So we started with there are many different which were failed in some of the cases, but for 4.8 microsilica we have started getting the results which are better, and we have taken the results at 3 days of curing, then 7 days of curing and 28 days of curing. So at 3 days of curing, we could get average strength of 40.5 megapascal when 4.8% was mixed. Then at 7 days it was 53.8 and 28 days it was 67.5. Then when the percentage was increased to 5.6, then again there is increase in the strength at 28 days, there is a significant increase, and when it was 6.4 considerably, that is at 28 days 72.4 and average it was 72.63. So beyond this we have not tried because of some limitations about procuring microsilica, also the cost and the time. So we have made up to 6.4, and then we designed one building. This is the same thing depicted in graphical form. Then we took one G+3 building of this C shape, and using E-tab designed this building for different concrete grade. One is definitely what we have designed by using microsilica, and two out of which one is M40 and M60. And then we have compared the cost for the RCC skeleton only. The walls and windows and the other things are not included. Then when it was M60 grade, we have given name to that as M60 grade microsilica. That 10-story building, which just I have shown to you, that that building, the skeleton structure cost total cost by using the local DSR available, that was 75,24,933. So if we are considering this as a datum, then for M60, that is mix 60 grade concrete, that is ordinary Portland cement concrete using, then it costed 84,56,000, and here we can save 9,31,000 rupees for this particular bedding skeleton. And if we are using M40 or comparing with M40, then we could save 38,58,000 rupees. So using microsilica for just 6.4%, this can save, because general concrete grade is M40, and against that we are getting M60 microsilica grade, and we can save almost 30%, almost 30 to 35% of cost in skeleton. So microsilica, mixing microsilica is more beneficiary against this. With this, we can reduce the concrete or cement, use of cement, and we can reduce footprint at the end of the day. Then Martian concrete. If you take this Martian concrete, because the experiment is going on at my lab, so sulfur concrete is casted as just before these slides I have explained this, that we are supposed to heat the sulfur to 240 degrees, then it will completely melted and poured into mold, which already contains definite portion of Martian soil in the form of aggregate. But in this case, we are not using the Martian soil because it is not available right now, and that is why we are using the available, whatever the available aggregates within the vicinity, that we are using. So coarse and fine aggregates, and we are producing this, and we are supposed to see some of the strength and other porosity parameters of Martian. So, and because of that we are using sulfur in it, therefore we have kept the name of the study as Martian concrete itself. As the experiments are still in process, so I'll not be able to reveal all the details, but very soon we will publish a paper in good review journal. So this is all from my side, and at the end I would like to say we are doing our bit. What about you? So is there any question? We can discuss some of the questions or any inputs from, because I think all of us are dealing with concrete every day, and we know that classroom learning of concrete technology is the most boring thing, but laboratory experiment on concrete is very interesting. So it should be learned in laboratory itself. Well, over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Participant can ask question to sir.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir. Sir, I like the 3D printing concrete concept, sir. It's just awesome, sir. My question is regarding this pervious concrete, sir. Pavement.
Yes.
Sir, our student also done the project on pervious pavements. But my question is that pervious concrete pavements are economical, affordable, or the cost is high if we use the ordinary concrete?
No, sir. Pervious concrete is cheaper than the ordinary concrete, as there are instead of the graded this whatever coarse aggregate, the aggregate size is much bigger than the regular one. That is first thing.
Yes.
And second thing, in that case, we have made one more experiment that in this very composition, crushed plastic we have added in that.
Okay.
And these two are both of them are different studies. One is pervious concrete and one is with crushed plastic. Okay, so
Okay.
in what happened in both the cases, we got good permeability, and because we have the time limit and we cannot construct the direct pavement, but the results are better, and that further it can be adopted within our say we can construct with that particular type of concrete as a small patch of pavement near to our department, because then only we will be able to say that it is, yes, it is.
Yes. We did that. We have space in front of our department, and we have done the project, sir, impervious concrete, and we infiltrate water. We collect that water and we reuse that water to our garden, sir. That's why I asked. Okay, sir. Thank you.
And because this your question is very good, because economy is the major factor, first thing. Otherwise we will tell somebody that okay, you go for this kind of pervious concrete, and if cost is more, then you may not go for instead giving slope will be beneficial, isn't it?
Yes.
But if we make use of some other filler material, then definitely it gives a better results.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
But we cannot use that for where the heavy traffic or heavy vehicles
No,
are.
that was only suitable in parking area or just in garden.
Yes,
Right.
and even in parking area from where the vehicle is running,
Yes.
there it's what you say, deterioration will be faster.
Yes.
But for footpath where only we or some cattle will walk, in that case it is okay.
Yes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for conducting such an informative session on concrete for the future. Your session was very elaborated and interesting. I am sure all the participants have thoroughly benefited from your session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.